Karen complained about overwatering, then got fined for illegally cutting water lines. The quiet hum of Willow Creek Lane was shattered one humid July evening when Karen Mitchell's voice sliced through the air like a siren. For weeks, she'd been simmering. Her eyes narrowed at the lush, emerald lawn of her neighbor, Sarah Nguyen. Sarah's sprinklers, Karen swore, were drowning her own backyard, turning her prized petunias into a soggy mess. She'd left notes, banged on Sarah's door, and even rallied neighbors for signatures on a petition titled, "Stop the Overwatering Epidemic." But Sarah, a single mother juggling a nursing job and 2 kids, dismissed it as petty. "It's just water," she'd said, brushing Karen off. That dismissal was the spark that ignited the blaze. Karen wasn't one to back down. At 52, she'd built a reputation in the neighborhood as the enforcer of order. HOA meetings were her battlefield, and rules were her weapons. But Sarah's sprinklers weren't just a nuisance. They were a personal affront. Karen's complaints to the city went nowhere. Insufficient evidence, they said. So, she took matters into her own hands. Under the cover of dusk, armed with bolt cutters from her late husband's toolbox, Karen crept into Sarah's backyard. The water line, a thin, unassuming pipe, was her target. One snip, she thought, and the flooding would stop. The metal gave way with a satisfying crunch, and water gushed into the soil, pooling at her feet. For a moment, Karen felt triumphant. But triumph was fleeting. Sarah's 12-year-old son, Ethan, had seen her. Hidden behind the kitchen window, he'd watched, wide-eyed, as Karen wielded the cutters. He ran to his mother, who was folding laundry after a 12-hour shift. "Mom, she's breaking our pipes." Sarah stormed outside, her exhaustion morphing into rage. "Karen, what the hell are you doing?" she shouted, her voice cracking with disbelief. Karen froze, bolt cutters still in hand, water soaking her sneakers. The neighborhood, drawn by the commotion, gathered like moths to a flame. Phones were out, recording, whispering. The confrontation was electric. Karen, defiant, insisted she was protecting her property. "Your sprinklers are ruining my yard," she snapped, her face flushed. Sarah, trembling with fury, pointed to the gushing pipe. "You think this solves anything? You're insane." The air was thick with tension, neighbors murmuring, some siding with Sarah, others nodding at Karen's complaints. No one noticed old Mr. Jenkins, the reclusive widower from across the street, watching silently from his porch. His presence was unremarkable until it wasn't. The next morning, the city arrived. Karen's act wasn't just vandalism. It was illegal. The water line she'd cut wasn't Sarah's, it was a shared utility line, feeding 3 houses, including Mr. Jenkins. The damage cost thousands, and worse, it had cut off water to his home, where he relied on a medical device that needed a steady supply to function. The twist came when Jenkins, frail and soft-spoken, stepped forward at the community meeting called to address the fiasco. "I didn't want to say anything," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "But Karen came to me last week. She offered me $500 to back her petition against Sarah. I said no." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's face drained of color. The neighborhood's enforcer of rules had tried to buy an ally. The revelation shifted everything. Karen's crusade, once seen as overzealous but principled, now looked manipulative, even cruel. Sarah, still reeling, spoke up, her voice steady but raw. "I'm not perfect. Maybe my sprinklers ran too long. But this," she gestured to the muddy trench where the pipe had been repaired. "This isn't justice. It's spite." The community, once divided, began to turn. Karen's allies drifted away, their signatures on her petition now a source of shame. The city fined Karen $7,000 for the illegal tampering, a sum that drained her savings. Worse, the HOA own domain banned her from future meetings. She became a pariah, her complaints no longer heeded, her presence met with awkward silence. Sarah, meanwhile, fixed her sprinklers, setting them to a conservative schedule, and offered to help Jenkins with his water bill. The gesture wasn't grand, but it was enough to mend the neighborhood's frayed bonds. Yet the ending wasn't tidy. Karen, alone in her pristine house, stared at her wilted petunias, the irony bitter. She'd fought for control, for perfection, only to lose both. Sarah, though vindicated, felt no joy. The cost of the feud time, trust, and peace was too high. And Jenkins, the unexpected linchpin, returned to his quiet life, his brief moment in the spotlight a reminder that even the overlooked can shift the tide. The neighborhood never fully healed. Whispers lingered, and glances carried weight. Karen's act, born of frustration, had exposed the fragility of community, how quickly grievances could spiral into chaos. Sarah's forgiveness, though genuine, couldn't erase the memory of that night. The glint of bolt cutters, the sound of rushing water. The wooden fence by Sarah's yard, now bearing a faded sign. Karen's complaint sparked a feud, but justice runs deeper than water stood as a quiet testament to the cost of pride. What do you think? Was Karen's desperation understandable, or was her act a step too far? Share your thoughts on where justice lies in this tangled web of community conflict.